everybody. So I got a question from a viewer who basically said, Bill, as a former CEO, if you had to get a job today, what would you do? So I thought, wow, that's actually a great question. I've never actually thought about that before. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what I would do to get a job if I had to go back to being an employee today. And in an effort to not just make this some big ego trip about me, to make it useful for everybody watching this, I'm going to try something new. We are going to use everybody's favorite tool, ChatGPT. And this is something I've never done in a video before. I'm actually going to be using this as we go through the video. And this is an effort to encourage everybody out there to use some of these AI tools to help you in your job search campaigns, because they are not the be all end all, but they do have certain uses and they are fantastic for certain specific things. So that's what we're going to do. So let's dive in. Now, I did actually make myself one prop, okay, one thing to try and structure this video so it isn't a total free for all. And that's this right here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through the major job search methods one at a time. I'm going to be explaining if I would do them and a little bit about each of them if you have never done some of these yourself. Okay, so let's dive into this. Okay, right. The first and default method of job search for most people, especially young people today, is applying for posted jobs. And I'm sure you know what this is. This is where you go and you look on websites to see if jobs are posted. You could go to job aggregators like Indeed and LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter and Monster and all these things. And you then respond to the job posting with the job application, right? We all know about this. Okay, it's the default method. Now, this is actually a pretty terrible method to get a job. It is terribly oversaturated. And if you don't know it by now, most people don't get hired this way. But I just want to, here we go. I just want to show you, let's do a couple of things here. I'm going to be using the voice input function of ChatGPT. Let's just see if this works. Okay, so in terms of job search, okay, posted jobs, what percentage of all the jobs out there are posted publicly? Let's see what this says, and let's see if this method works. I'm really hoping it does. Hopefully you will have a chance to see its output here, and I encourage you to do these kinds of inquiries yourself. Okay, so it's widely believed that just about 20 to 30% of all open jobs are publicly posted. So this alone is one reason why I probably, well, I for sure would not do this method of job search. I would not go after publicly posted jobs because you are going through recruiters, you're going through, excuse me, the HR organizations of a lot of companies, and that's not something that I would do. Number one, because it's silly, and number two, it's because it's a very negative process. You encounter a lot of idiots, you encounter a lot of stupidity, and so I wouldn't do it. The other thing is that, what's the other thing about this? Oh yeah, okay, so most jobs are not posted. They're actually in something called the hidden job market, which it talks about here. And the other reason is that even though, excuse me, even though it's only about 20% of the jobs out there, you have something like 80% of all the job seekers focusing their efforts there. So it's very oversaturated, okay? And you're dealing with things like ATS and stuff like that. It's like, no. So, but it is an option for a lot of people. So if this works for you, go and check it out. But there are far more promising methods, which we are going to get into. Okay. If you want to read this text, I'm going to keep it up on the screen if people want to look at that. I'm not an expert in exactly how to manage these types of videos, but the bottom line is that there's a lot of cons with this. So let's move on to the next method, which is applying in person. Now, I would not do this simply because there are better methods, okay? However, it may make sense to people if there's like a very specific job that you want at a specific employer. It can really enhance your chances of getting hired with that employer. Now, one method of doing this is if the company has posted a job publicly, and instead of applying over their website, you hand deliver your application. That's one way of doing it. Another method is that the company has not posted jobs, and we've just established a moment ago that most companies who don't have jobs posted are usually, in fact, hiring. It's just that they're hiring behind closed doors. They're hiring on the hidden job market. The jobs are there. It's just that they are not posting them publicly. Why? It's because they don't need to, okay? Because they're usually more desirable jobs. As soon as they mention it to people, people want it. So that's the idea. Now, what you can do is you can apply to those companies in person. And one method of doing that is simply to take your resume, put it in an envelope, and physically go to the employer, go to the company, if it's a company, whatever organization it is, go and march through the front doors, go to the main reception desk, whatever form that takes, and ask if the manager of whatever department is available, right? And 90% chance they're not going to be, and that's fine. You say to the receptionist, if I leave this here with you, can you see that they get it? And 95% of the time they'll say, sure, not a problem. And if you can get the name of the person, that really helps, okay? And you have the perfect reason to ask for their name because you'd like to know who your thing is going to, right? So you say, thank you very much, have yourself a great day, and then you leave, and then you follow up with a phone call. You say, hello to that manager. I'm just following up to see if you received the envelope I left for you at the front desk. Just wondering if you got that already. And whether they say yes or no, it doesn't matter because you still give them your pitch, okay? That's how that works. It can be a really good thing for a lot of people, certainly better than applying for posted jobs over the internet. But I wouldn't do this because there are better methods. So let's keep moving. Okay, method number 3, recruiters and headhunters. Now, this is another method, and this is different from applying to posted jobs because in this case, the entire idea is that you're trying to connect to recruiters and other HR professionals because they may have access to hidden jobs, jobs that are not posted, and they may have this because they are connected to a lot of employers and a lot of organizations and the hiring managers at those organizations. Okay, so that's the idea behind this. You're going after the hidden jobs, but you're trying to go through a recruiter or HR professional to get it. Okay, and I wouldn't do this personally. Okay, that's just I would not do any process that requires interfacing with a recruiter or an HR professional simply because it's a profoundly frustrating and negative process. The communication is really not very good. And quite frankly, there are more promising methods that we are going to get into. Okay. Now, let's talk about method number 4, direct outreach. This is the cornerstone, or these two methods here, direct outreach and informational interviews. These are the cornerstones of what I would do personally to get a job. Okay. Direct outreach, the idea, if you've never heard of this before, let's see if we can look it up here. You know what? We'll do that in a second. But what direct outreach is, this is where you reach out directly to the hiring managers, to the decision makers. Okay. You don't go through a recruiter. You don't go through anyone else. You go directly to them. Okay. This is what I would do. I would go on Google Maps and I would type in the name of my hometown. And when I'm looking at a big map of my hometown, in the search box, I would put my industry or my vocation. And not just name my industry and name my vocation, but anything ancillary to it, things that are related to it. And each time you enter this, the map lights up with all the businesses and organizations that are connected with that industry or that vocation. And you're getting a list of targets. Okay. So these are organizations, usually most of them will be companies that have potential to hire you. That's the idea. Okay. And I used this method many years ago to build my consulting business. Okay. So this is how you get a list of targets. Then what you do is you use LinkedIn to go see inside of those targets. Okay. And the way I would do that, the way I've done that, is you do a people search on LinkedIn. And you may need the premium version of LinkedIn for that. That's kind of changed over the years, but that's fine. You can get it for a month free if you need to. Anyway, but so what I would do is I'd go there and I would enter in the names of these organizations one at a time. I do a people search. You can find the people search to your geographic region, say within commuting distance. And it gives you the individuals that are inside those organizations. I would only connect or deal with CEOs or owners. That's what I would do. And what I would do is you could do this a variety of different ways. What I would do is I would send out connection requests accompanied with a note. And the note would say something like, we've got connections in common or something. I'd very much like to add you to my LinkedIn network. Thank you, whatever. And I've done this before, and among CEOs and owners that I didn't know, the response rate was something like 30%. So that means if I sent out 100 of these, then 30 people would accept my connection request, and these would be CEOs or owners. And then what I do is I go a second step. I would then send a message. Now that you're connected to these people and they're in your network on LinkedIn, then you can send them a message. And I would send them a message, something of the nature of, hello, my name is X, and I do this. This is the problem I solve. And if ever you're looking for someone to do that for you, for your company, please let me know, because I know that you guys do work in this area. I think you guys do great work in that area. I'd very much like to work for you or work with you. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Something like that. Okay, so you just send that out, and let's go on ChatGPT and let's talk about this. Okay, so let's talk about job search methods. The method of direct outreach. Okay, let's talk about direct outreach. Now, what I would do is I'd use a combination of Google Maps and LinkedIn to connect with CEOs in organizations that could employ me. And what I would do is I'd reach out to them on LinkedIn after we're connected and send just a little note where it's a template, but maybe the name is changed on each one, and say something to the effect of, I solved this problem. I'd very much like to work for you if ever you're looking for that. What do you think of that? I'm trying to get ChatGPT to give us its take on some of these, because I'd very much want to encourage a lot of you guys who've never done things like direct outreach to tune into it. It's an extremely powerful tool here. Okay. So you can see it's talking all about it, and this is how it works. Okay. So it's giving you templates of how you can do it. Okay. So that's, I don't know if I'd use these exact templates, but there you go. So so this is something you can look into if you haven't done this before. And now I built a consulting business using this method and the informational interviews method. Okay, this thing here, number 5, these two, I use those to build a consulting business. That's what I do these days. I'm a management consultant. And so it's incredibly effective. I connected exclusively with CEOs and owners. You may not necessarily want to do that. It's up to you. It still is. It's good if you start at the top and go down. If you start at the top and go down instead of starting at the bottom and going up, it's much easier to make things happen when you start at the top and go downwards. Okay, so anyway, I'm not necessarily here to explain the entire method to you, but I just want to encourage you to learn all you can about it. This is definitely what I do. And I can't remember if I covered this already, but when I did this years ago, because it's a two-step kind of thing, like one is to connect with people on LinkedIn. That's the first step. And the second step is to then send a message saying, hello, I'm here, hire me. Now, my response rate among CEOs and owners was 30% to the connection request. So if I sent out 100 connection requests to 100 targets, 30 would connect to me. And then of those 30, the response rate for the message that went out, I think it was more for informational interviews, but it was 20%. So 20% of 30 is 6. So so if you sent out 100 messages to 100 targets, you got 6 responses, like 6 offers to talk further or 6 informational interviews, whatever it was that you were hoping to get, right? So that's what I got with that method. So I highly encourage you to check this out. Okay. Informational interviews, very, very similar to direct outreach. Okay. And this is exactly what I would do also. This can be like the most powerful weapon in your arsenal to get a job, to make things happen. Okay. That's what I found years ago. And what I did is I did informational interviews, once again, exclusively with CEOs and owners. I didn't go to anyone else. And because I've dealt with people lower down, and the people at the bottom, they can't help you. People at the middle, they're too busy to help you, and it's not their job. People at the top, they're the ones that can open doors for you, and they know how to handle these types of requests. Okay, so informational interviews is the same as direct outreach, except that instead of sending a request for them to hire you, if they're looking for someone like you, you send a request for an informational interview. So if you don't know what an informational interview is, learn, because they are a secret weapon to get hired. Okay. Let's look at this right now. Okay. So in terms of job search, another method that I think I would use is informational interviews. And what I do is I do the same thing that I did for direct outreach, except that instead of requesting that they hire me, I would request an informational interview. What do you think of that? Let's see what it says. I'm trying to get it to talk all about it, even though I know exactly what I would do. This is for here. So, okay. So yeah, this is a legitimate thing. You don't take my word for it. Go read about this yourself. Okay. Now, the critical thing about informational interviews is that you're not going there to ask for a job. Okay. Don't even take a resume with you. Okay. The moment you mention a job or you're looking for a job or anything like that, the whole thing is over. That's not what these are about. You're simply there to learn from them about them. That's what this is. Okay. Yeah, it even says all this stuff, don't ask, are you hiring? Can you refer me? Okay. So, right. So read about this. Is actually great. Read about this stuff. And, this really opens doors, because what it does is, the other thing is that I would do a delayed ask. So you would do an informational interview with a CEO or with an owner. And then what I'd do is I'd go away after about a week or two. I would contact them again and I would say, listen, I was thinking about some of the things you said, and, that's actually really exciting. And I just wanted you to know that if you ever do go forward with, your plans to do that or whatever, let me know, because that sounds very exciting and I'd love to be able to work with you and contribute if I can. Something like that. And, that can open up all kinds of opportunities. So learn how to do an informational interview. It's not about you, it's about them. You go down there, you basically ask ask them questions about what they do. And, there's a story I keep telling over and over and over. One of the informational interviews I did that sticks in my mind. I met the CEO of the international airport in my hometown, and I walked into their office. Their office is like, the size of the floor plan of my house. And the first thing out of my mouth was like, hey, John, whatever. So how's business? That's all I said. And they talked for 45 minutes straight about what they do and what their plans are and how it's going. And I helped egg them on a bit, but they just talked for 45. They didn't know who I was. I guess they looked at my LinkedIn profile, but that's a story I keep telling. Or they only gave me half an hour. They had scheduled, their EA had scheduled half an hour, and so they talked for 45 minutes. Their EA said like, you got you got something else, and they waved them off. They said, no, I'm talking to Bill here. So we ended up talking for like an hour and a half or something like that. Anyway, yeah, informational interviews, they open up all kinds of doors. This is what I would do. I would do it exclusively with CEOs and owners, and all this stuff is in person, of course. Right? The best way of connecting. You can't really do this stuff properly over the phone. Not that I've really tried, but you just can't. So learn all you can about informational interviews, how to do them, how to get them, how to set them up. These are your access to any knowledge out in the world that you want to know. You want to know how to do certain things, how to get into certain positions. How does one become the director of this at a company? How does this work? Any knowledge out there in the world you want to know, this is how you find it out, okay? Connect with the person, learn how to request an informational interview properly, professionally, and persuasively, and go down, learn how to conduct an informational interview where, you get them to talk all about themselves, you learn, and they'll love you. There'll be all kinds of opportunities that come out of it, okay? So there you go. That's method number 5. Now, the remaining methods here, 6, 7, and 8, these are things that I would do, but I wouldn't go deep. I would just kind of keep my finger on the pulse of this kind of stuff, see if there's anything going on that's worth checking out, but I wouldn't really go hardcore in any of these. The first one is something called growth opportunities. I'm not sure if you've heard of this. This is a more exotic method of getting a job, and I'm going to do this with ChatGPT just to see if it's actually heard of this. Okay, so another method of getting a job is something I call growth opportunities. I'm not sure if that's an industry standard term or not, but what it is you basically reach out traditionally to the Department of Economic Development in your local municipal government because they would traditionally know which employers, big employers, are coming to town and setting up shop. And if you can get ahead of this, you can reach out to those employers and proactively put yourself forward as a point person if they need someone, with boots on the ground in the location that they're expanding into that can help them to set it up. That's the method, and I'm just wondering if you've heard of this or if it's an industry standard term. Let's see what it says. I'm curious to see if ChatGPT knows about this method. Let's see. Thinking. Oh, searching the web. Yeah, we're going to talk about this in a moment, some of the powerful things it can do. Okay, marketing intelligence from economic development agencies. Okay, that's that just rolls off the tongue. But, okay, yeah, so it's kind of heard of this, even though it's not using the same term as mine. Yeah, I didn't know what it was called. Okay, so you can check this out too. Okay, now the great thing about ChatGPT in this day and age, and other AI tools like ChatGPT, like Google Gemini and stuff like that, is that they can actually do a lot of the grunt work for you. Okay, you don't have to check in with the government or anything like that. Okay, you see, the Department of Economic Development or its equivalent in most cities, they have this in some way, shape, or form, usually part of the municipal government. And their job is to try and bring industry, bring business to that city or that region. That's their function, right? So they're trying to woo companies and large employers to come and set up shop in that city or that region, right? So that's how they know of these things. They also know about local companies or organizations that are doing major expansions, right? So they're building new facilities. They're going to be hiring a bunch of people. They know about this stuff because their whole function is to try and generate this, okay, and make it attractive for employers to come and locate their businesses in that city or region, okay. So the great thing about ChatGPT and stuff is that it can help you with the legwork. So, for example, let's see here. Let's see if I can get this. Okay, so let's say I'm in, Calgary, Alberta, and I'm wondering, can you tell me what major employers are coming to town that are going to be expanding into Calgary in the next 3 months? Okay. It's currently July 2025. So in July, August, or September of 2025, are there any expansions into Calgary, or are there any major development projects in Calgary that's expected to generate a lot of employment? Can you tell me that? Let's see what this thing says. I'm curious to see what it can do. Searching the web. Yeah, see, this is part of the power of this, and I'm excited to see what AI is going to be able to do for us going into the future. Okay, so it gives you some stuff here. So upcoming employer expansion development projects in Edmonton and Calgary. Okay. So here's a couple of things. I'm not sure how good these AI tools are at doing this, but it's a sort of cheap and lazy way of avoiding you reaching out to your local Department of Economic Development. They may have like a website. I'm sure that's what ChatGPT is looking at. I know they do have websites, but this is something that you can do. So here, it's listing some major stuff. Now, with some additional follow-up queries, I'm sure you could refine this a bit and discover, more things. Okay. So, it's got some interesting things there. So, what I would do is, the entire point of this is let's say it told you that a certain company is coming to that town or your town, your city, your region to set up shop. What I would do is I would use a method of direct outreach to connect with the CEO of that company. Usually they're not going to be in your hometown. They're going to be somewhere else. Okay. For this, what I would do is I'd probably use an in-mail on LinkedIn. Okay. And what I would do is I would send them a message, something along the lines of, hello, my name is X, and I'm wondering if you could tell me, who is leading the initiative or whose purview it is, who's managing the expansion of your firm into this location. If you could connect me with them, I'd very much appreciate it. I believe that I may be I may be able to contribute meaningfully to that project or that initiative, something like that. You could probably even get ChatGPT to work out a script for you. So that's what I would do. I'd probably, because you're going to a very, very targeted person, I might expand this to other C-level executives too, that you send them this message to on LinkedIn. Either you could do it with, the same method I use for direct outreach. You try and connect with them first and then send the message, or you could just send an in-mail. I think I would send an in-mail to the CEO, and I try to connect with the C-level people in the company also, and see if any of those I could get the message to them that way. So there you go. That's something that you can do. It's one of the more exotic ways of doing this. Okay, so that's growth opportunities. I would just sort of check it out to see if there was anything major worth pursuing. But I wouldn't go full hardcore on this. Number seven, events. Now, if you're a raging extrovert, you'll love this. Okay. I would not do this super hardcore, but I would kind of keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on. Now, events, there's many subcategories of events. Okay, there's alumni type stuff from your school. There's industry associations from your industry. Those are pretty good, actually. There's, what other categories of events are there? Technically, there's like job fairs and stuff like that. I wouldn't personally do those, but, for job seekers, you may want to check those out also. There's all kinds of business networking type stuff going on. There's certainly fundraisers and things like that on the high end. I don't know if I necessarily do that for this purpose, but there's a lot of like CEO type conferences and things like that. I've been to those before. So, award shows, like award presentations and things like this. I wouldn't go to networking events that are like kind of low level stuff, because those are borderline useless. Anything to do with like a chamber of commerce or something, I would steer clear of. That's kind of on the low level. But that's events. Now, what you can do once again, is you can use ChatGPT to find those. So, okay, in terms of events, let's try this out. In terms of events happening locally, in Winnipeg, Canada, in the construction industry, are there any upcoming events like trade shows or industry association events in the next 3 months? So that would be between July and September 2025. What's going on in that industry in terms of events? Let's see what this thing says. Okay, it would be nice if you didn't always have to enter it twice. You have to click it and then hit enter. Hopefully they'll change that in the future. Okay, so here you go. So as an example, if you worked in the construction industry or something connected to the construction industry, and you were in Winnipeg, Canada, here's a few things that are going on: golf classic, leaders forum, industry association stuff. There's a Builders Night Gala. Okay, that's interesting. Educational events and stuff like this. So if there's a university, they put on various things that you may wish to go to, where a lot of the sort of it people sort of congregate, this kind of thing. Now, the other thing I believe you can do with AI tools like ChatGPT is you can then, as I bump my mic, you can then get it to tell you like, okay, is this invitation only, or can you buy tickets, or is it open to the public, or how does it work? And you get an idea of, what you're up against, and you can decide whether to attend it or not. So that's the idea. It can also give you links to the websites where you can get the information directly from the source, which I would always recommend. Okay. But yeah, so there's stuff you can use ChatGPT for this. Okay. So that's something I would do. I would just check this stuff just to see what's going on, and maybe go to a trade show. If there was a trade show or an industry association event, I might actually put in an appearance. And anything where like CEOs are going to be, not low level stuff. Okay, where are we here? Okay, here's our master plan. So we've covered that's what I'd say for number 7 events. Now, I'm an introvert, okay? So that's why I'm not really focusing too much on this. If you're an extrovert, you will want to make this maybe a central kind of thing for your job search campaign, and especially like wine and cheese parties and things like this for your industry, or any business kind of thing. You will love those. I've been to those. I did not like them. It's not really my scene, so I would not focus on that for myself. Okay, number 8, employee referrals. Now, I would do this. It wouldn't be my central thing. You know, I know a few people that, you know, if I'm interested in working for that company, I could reach out to them. But so I would do this, but I'd rather talk about this more generally, so it's more used to everybody else. This is what happened there. Okay, that didn't really work for me. Let's bring that back. There we go. Okay, so employee referrals. Now, I'm sure you can get ChatGPT to walk you through this. The idea is that if you have had previous jobs and you've had coworkers in those jobs, those coworkers, in all likelihood, you know, your paths have diverged. They might be at that original company, but more likely they might have moved on also to work somewhere else, right? So if you can use social networking like LinkedIn, for example, to connect with those people, you could also use Facebook and other things. What you can do is you can reach out to those people. And if there's someone that you worked with for a couple of years, maybe 5 years ago, something like that, that would be perfect as an example. And you reach out to them. Now, the cliched traditional thing is that's kind of a 3-step message, right, that goes out to them. You know, let's get ChatGPT to see if it can take us through this. Here we go. Okay. So, okay, another method of getting a job is employee referrals. And in terms of how to do an employee referral, I believe it's like a 3-step message, three separate messages in sequence that you would do. Does that ring a bell? Can you walk us through that? Let's see if it can do this. And obviously, you can do this at home. I recommend you use some of these AI tools to give you a crash course in how to do this. Yeah, it does ring a bell. Okay, here we go. So, you know, you just say, hello, how are you doing? You know, how are you liking your job at that new company? Is it going okay? You know, I saw that they're hiring. I don't know if I necessarily say that, because if they're hiring, great. You know, wonderful. But I would still do this if they don't have any posted jobs for reasons I've already explained. Usually it means they're hiring anyway, right? Just they haven't posted it. So, you know, then, you know, it's on the 3rd time you say, well, can you put in a good word for me? Or can you connect me with the hiring manager? Or, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, so this is very powerful. Okay, what is it saying here? Common mistakes, yeah. Yeah, don't lead with the ask. Yeah, absolutely. So these are some networking skills that I highly recommend that everybody develops. Okay. You know, learning how to make a pitch for yourself, learning how to reach out to people. This is all good stuff. It's definitely worth your time to learn this, improve yourself, and arm yourself with this knowledge. This will open a lot of doors for you, by the way. Okay, so I've got some people that I would definitely reach out to and say, you know, hey, I'm ready to rejoin the workforce. You know, how's it going over there? And you know, can you refer me? That kind of thing. So yeah, that's definitely what I would do. Now let's cover the rest of these. Now there's another 3 methods. I wouldn't do these methods, but these may work for you. So I'm going to go through these. Now, volunteering is one method. Now, a couple of things about volunteering. You can't just volunteer at any company. There are laws about, you know, like labor laws, right? And there are things like minimum wage. Like if somebody works for you, you have to pay them. You can't just say, oh, well, it's a volunteer position and, you know, they're doing it because there might be a permanent position in it for them later. It's like, no. They don't allow companies to circumvent minimum wage laws and things like that. So you can only volunteer for very specific types of businesses, usually nonprofits of a specific type, like charities and things like that. Okay. However, you do get companies, especially big companies, that put on charitable events. Okay, so where I am, there'll be a lot of enterprise level employers that put on like United Way events and things like this. So what you can do is you can maybe even volunteer for those. And the idea is that you're doing it for the access. Okay, so number one, you're doing it because you want to do it. It shouldn't be a conflict of interest. But the fringe benefit is also that, now you're on the employer's property. Now you can, sort of meet key people or hiring managers or people that run the place, and things like this. So, during a break, you might be able to go over and talk to them and things like this, right? And if you know what to say, it can open up doors for you. So there's some things you can do with volunteering, okay? I highly recommend that you look it up yourself. You can start with ChatGPT, but go deeper if you're looking for alternate ways of sort of getting your foot in the door. Number 10, where are we here? I keep pressing the wrong button. I'm old, so I pressed the wrong button. Number 10, online personal branding or content creation. I would not do this, but some people do this. This is if you are active in your industry, you can try and become like a thought leader in a specific area, very, very specific area, where you publish articles and, how-to guides and things like this on social media and other platforms, so that you make a little bit of a name for yourself within that very small industry. So that industry could be something like the insurance business for like commercial insurance in your hometown, something like that, like a very specific kind of thing. You're one of the people that's always talking about it. You're a thought leader. And so you make a bit of name for yourself. Now, in certain situations, this makes sense because if hiring managers or other people are looking for employees, or they're looking for consultants, or they're looking for someone to do contract work in that area, you're a natural person to reach out to. Okay, they're familiar with your name. You're somewhat of an authority on it. You're local, and you do that thing, and they trust you because you're always talking about it, and they may have come across your content. So that's the idea. There's many, many ways to do this. If you are a creative type person, like you're in design or something, or you're in engineering or anything where you create something, construction, right? There may be avenues for you to show off your work, okay, publicly, virtually, so that you make a bit of a name for yourself, and that can open doors. So I'm not going to get into a deep dive here. I would not do this personally. It's just not my style. Yes, I'm on YouTube, but that's nothing to do with like getting a job. But for a lot of people, they find that this really helps you to elevate yourself above the crowd. So, learn all you can about it. If you're interested in this, start with things like ChatGPT and then go outward from there and start putting your stuff out there into these communities where you're going to get noticed, and you could make a little bit of a name for yourself and be an authority on it. And then finally, we have the last method here, at least the last of the ones that I've outlined, and that's number 11, direct outreach by cold calling. Now, this is not something that's often done anymore, but if you do this, if you're the type of person that you can do this and you enjoy doing this and you don't have a problem with it, then you can really shine here. I'm not going to get too deep into it. All I'll say is that it's very similar to direct outreach on social networking, like on LinkedIn, but you're doing it by cold calling. So the way you would do this is you would do the first sort of step of direct outreach online that I talked about earlier, method number 4, where you go to Google Maps, you look at your hometown, you have a map of your hometown, and you enter in your industry or your profession or your vocation, and then all the employers, all the businesses connected with that, all the organizations connected with that, they pop up on the map. You have contact information for all of them, including their phone numbers, right? You just get on the horn, you get on the phone, and you actually call them up, try to speak to the hiring managers, try to speak to the owner, try to speak to the person in charge, and then you make your pitch. Okay, it's a standard way of making your pitch. It's the same as all these other methods that did the same thing, okay? But that's what it is. I would not do this just because there are more promising things to do, and I'm an introvert. If you're a raging extrovert, you might really like this, and you might be very good at it. So if that's something that you think you might do, I encourage you to check it out. Okay, we are at the end of this. That's how I would get a job. I would not deal with recruiters. I would deal exclusively with CEOs. I really wouldn't go to anyone else. CEOs and up, so possibly board members, but basically CEOs. And there you have it. Somebody asked me the question, what would I do to get a job? This is what I do. Hopefully that's somewhat interesting. And I encourage you to learn all you can about other job search methods. They may just be the missing ingredient in your job search campaign that catapults you and your career upward. So thank you for watching. You guys are awesome. Never forget that. You're hireable. You're valuable. A lot of employers would be lucky to have you. And I wish you the absolute best. Thanks and take care.